Hi, I'm Sarah Taylor. I'm an awakening trail guide and an intuitive energy healer. And today I want to talk about how you're not broken. Maybe you're just wired for awakening. So, on this channel, I talk a lot about the intersection of neurodivergence and spiritual awakening. I'm a late diagnosed ADHD woman. That means autistic and ADHD. And I wanted to make this video because recently I had a conversation with Tami on her podcast, Insights at the Edge, because Sounds True is doing a series called Spirituality and the Neurodivergent Mind. So you will definitely want to tune into I think it's 4 episodes she's doing, and listen to the conversations that are being had because you're going to get so much from it. And one of the things she asked me about was something that you've probably heard me say quite a bit on this channel, which is, I think neurodivergent people are wired for awakening. And she said, what do you mean by that? And I love where our conversation went about it. And afterwards, I felt inspired to come on here and elaborate a little bit more. So one of the things I notice about working with sensitive and neurodivergent people, which I've been doing a long time, even before, believe it or not, I knew that I was autistic. I've known I was ADHD since I was a child, but I didn't know the autistic piece, which really made sense once I figured it out. But what I see in people who come to me is that often they're convinced they're doing it wrong. There's got to be something wrong. They doubt their insights, their intuition, the realizations they've had. They force themselves to do practices or follow a path that they think they should follow, instead of kind of moving with their own rhythm and using what they have as a doorway to deeper truth, because I think it's right there. It's right there. It's so simple, you can't believe it. It's right there. And so what if your inability to sit still or regulate in the way that other people might, or your hyper focus, or that tendency to really only focus on something that's interesting to you, what if these are not obstacles? What if they're doorways? So, special interest. So I have always had the special interest of learning how people tick. I was fascinated by relationships and how human beings communicate, what they really mean, what's going on inside, what makes us tick. I was fascinated by it, and I really wanted to understand it. I mean, right, we know for obvious reasons, because I was like, how do I fit in? I feel like I'm completely out of place. So whatever the reason, I ended up hyper-focusing on my special interest, which was how do people tick, which turned into what is consciousness, what is mind, what is the self? So here we are. So whatever you're interested in, you can find a way to use your special interest. If you're here listening to me, spirituality is a special interest for you. So when you're really captivated by it, because you'll lose interest and start focusing on something else, it's okay. Like, really, if you were really into spirituality like a year ago and you're not as much, and you're really like into this whole thing about like illustration and you're really into your artwork right now or whatever, great. You haven't moved away from your spirituality. You're just changing how you're channeling it. So using your special interests and going with them, and then revisiting your special interests. Sometimes all we need to do as neurodivergent people is start doing the thing again, and then we're like, oh yeah, has that happened to you? That's happened to me. We're like, oh right, I like this. So that's one way of approaching it. So you've got your special interest, and of course that makes you hyper-focus. So hyperfocus can be incredible if you're on a roll with focusing in your meditation practice or your inquiry. Wonderful. That's great. Go with it. And again, like I was saying, your special interest may change. It may, it ebbs and flows Usually our special interests come back. They might fade to the background, something else takes its place for a while, and then that special interest comes back again. You can trust that it'll come back again. But while you have that hyper focus, I mean, go for it. The ability to focus in on something is a samadhi-like quality. It is meditation. So even if you're not hyper-focusing on meditation or spiritual teachings or spiritual inquiry, and you're hyper-focusing on, I don't know, gardening, putting together model airplanes, great. Bring your spirituality into it. Make it a spiritual practice. Notice that you're present. Become absorbed, and also notice that you are absorbed at times. See how that goes for you. We tend to be good with pattern recognition. So I know that that's something with me, like seeing my own patterns, like, oh, when I get triggered about this, then I usually think this, and that makes me respond this way, and then I feel this way afterwards. I would notice these patterns when I was, really diving in at times with my Buddhist practice. And so I was able to see, reactivity and the chain of events that happen between perception and cognizing what's happening, and then it turning into a narrative and seeing how it connected to me as a self, right? So this pattern recognition, maybe that's not happening for you, but you're seeing through the structures that are put in place by society. You see through it. You see these structures and these patterns, and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Great. You can use that pattern recognition to start to detangle what you believe about yourself and about reality. And you can use that pattern recognition to understand your conditioning better. You can use the pattern recognition to remember or notice when that sense of presence and openness is here. I remember I would see or sense in my meditation practice, or just walking around through the world, I would start to colors would start to look different. And then there would be a certain feeling in my body, my chest and my belly, and I knew it as a pattern. And then I would relax and drop into, whoa, Rigpa, as it's called. The ground of being, the nature of reality. And everything would become completely still. And I would notice the dots connecting prior to dropping in. So you can use your pattern recognition in so many ways. You can use the pattern recognition to see if a teacher is right for you too, or a teaching. Gosh, when I do this practice, I get A, B, and C as a result, let's say. Is it working? Is it bringing me closer to truth? Now, I don't want you to go into a whole doubt spiral, but you can really check and see, and when I do this practice, I tend to doubt myself more. Or when I do this practice, I tend to get really, really distracted because it's uncomfortable for me. Well, great. You can revisit it in 6 months. You're not being a cop-out by setting it aside and moving to another practice. Now, you've probably heard me say it's good to have a practice, do it for about 2 weeks or 4 weeks to really sit through those waves of boredom and nothing happening, nothing changing, to sit through that wall of resistance that you come up against with it. So that is one way of working with practices that you're just like rubbing up against, and you're like, no. But trust yourself, listen to your intuition. Are you challenged by the practice because it's asking you to cultivate some quality that you know would be good for your spiritual practice? Or is it just not a good fit? And it's not the end of the world if you don't know the answer and you set it aside and you dive into another practice that does capture your attention at the time. Because spiritual practices are meant for certain times. I remember I became obsessed with chud practice, which is like feeding your demons, and it's this dark, like diving into the shadow. Before I heard anybody talk about shadow work online, it's pretty much you're doing shadow work. And then I just hit a point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to make it simple. And I'm just going to rest in presence for a while. So trust your rhythms. Trust your rhythms. You have unique rhythms that other people don't. And so while we're talking about rhythms, I mean, you might think like, oh, I can't, when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like meditating, or I don't feel like stretching or doing my spiritual stuff in the morning. Okay, if that's your rhythm, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon is good for you. Maybe at night when everybody's asleep. Learn to work with your rhythms, your natural rhythms, because neurodivergent people have odd, quirky, different rhythms. Learn to honor them. Learn to work with them. And time blindness. Oh my gosh. ADHD here. Do you have time blindness? Time has always been really wiggly for me. I've had to really okay, time. And when time collapsed with the non-dual awakening, it was kind of a relief because it felt so familiar. But that time blindness it's the eternal now, which is all that's happening. Past, present, and future collapse and really don't exist. There's just this. And so instead of getting mad at yourself or feeling ashamed because you've gone into a time blindness stretch during your day or something, you can just remind yourself that you have that capacity to access the eternal, timeless now. So I think if we just learn to work a little differently with how we're built, it's right there, as I said. So we're sensitive, right? And that can feel like a liability at times. It can feel overwhelming. But we're actually picking up on subtle information that others might miss. We can feel emotions and energies and unspoken truths. We can see and sense, so to speak, things that somebody else might not. And we can feel like we're really attuned to the jangly loudness, harshness of life, but we're also exquisitely attuned to the beauty and to the subtlety. We are attuned to nuance, which is a good thing because your true nature, our true nature, our fundamental essence, our spirit is subtle and takes subtle perception. Subtle perception, we can see and sense the multiple dimensions of reality, really. And that, I think, is a real gift on the spiritual path. If we really notice that the quiet, subtle aspects of our experience, we're also picking up on that. And intuition, I find us to be naturally intuitive, and we might not realize that we're intuitive. Now, we get a lot of information coming at us. I mean, we look at somebody or we take in a situation and we're getting thousands of pieces of information that our brain is trying to process instead of an holistic brain that's like, I'm just going to process 20 pieces of information. So we can miss our intuition because there's a lot coming at us, but I find that we're naturally intuitive. We naturally are sensing the unseen, the unspoken. So this is a beautiful thing, and it's meant to be cultivated and attuned to and really listened to. Get to know your intuition. You can keep a little booklet of your intuitive hits and pay attention to how it feels in your body when you get a yes or a no about something. If you have an intuitive hunch about something, write it down, and immediately at the same time, tune into your body. How are you feeling? What are you sensing? If you can put it into words, I know it might be hard. What am I sensing in this moment that makes me feel that this is true, that I know this? And then see what happens, see how things unfold, and then go back and take notes about it. Yes, things did unfold like that, or yes, that was a good decision to make, or no, that wasn't. I think I was listening to fear more than my intuition, and I just learned that fear feels like this, but intuition feels like this. So you're intuitive. So as I mentioned, it's right there, and I just wanted to read something. It's a Dzogchen teaching called The Four Faults, and it's about reality, aka you and me and all of us. It's so close you can't see it. It's so deep you can't fathom it. It's so simple you can't believe it. And it's so good you can't accept it. I think this is right there for neurodivergent people, right there. It's so simple. If we let go of the efforting to be different, and that's what I'm talking about. You probably hear a lot of teachers saying, let go, stop the seeking. I'm just talking about just be naked as yourself, as you are in that moment. You don't need to be fixed. The moment doesn't need to be fixed. And be here with what is present, your frustration, your annoyance, your stimming, your scattered mind, your hyperfocus, whatever it is. And know that it's right there. It's so close. So how can you honor your wiring on the spiritual path? Well, one of the ways is to stop masking, especially in spiritual spaces, and give yourself what you need. You might want to tell your teacher or a few trusted members in the Sangha about your wiring and your needs and your sensitivities, and take care of yourself during group meetings, during meditation sits, whatever it might be, or, just the small talk that's made at some spiritual gatherings. It's okay if you don't engage in it. See what happens if you don't mask. And let your hyperfocus become a spiritual portal, so to speak. Let whatever your interest is absorb you. And may you become absorbed with it, that union. And make space for non-linear awakening. Your way of awakening and opening to your true nature and to the nature of reality, honor it. It might not follow a certain rhythm or path. First you have this insight, then this insight, then that insight. I mean, some traditions really talk about, here are the 4 realizations you have, or here are the 5 stages, or the 3 centers from which you awaken. All of that might be true on some level, but how you embody and realize all of that is going to be unique to you. So give yourself space for that. So I just want to reiterate, you're not broken. You just process and digest differently. You sense differently. And all of that can be a doorway into recognizing truth, just because it doesn't look like somebody else's. So when we drop the doubt that we have the capacity to awaken, we can see that it's right there. I believed the Buddha. That was my thing. I just was like, I trust this guy, man. Like, his teachings like really feel right on to me. Like, I get him. And he says that anybody can awaken, that it's this Buddha nature is all of our nature. Okay, I'm on board. Let's do this. So may you dissolve your doubt in yourself and in your capacities, and may you find your own way with awakening, because again, it's so close, it's so deep, it's so good. It's right here. Thanks for watching and listening, and if this has been helpful to you, please subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified about whenever I put out a new video, and let me know in the comments, how are you doing? Do you feel that you're wired for awakening, or that sensitive and neurodivergent people are? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. All right, till next time, take care.